Hello my dear friends, welcome back to another Star Wars video. It is I coming at you once again, your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg. And today we have something of a shocking update for the Kathleen Kennedy situation. So as you might remember a couple of days ago, the Hollywood Reporter via Puck News put out a story that shocked the internet. After years of speculation, years of false rumours, fake claims, it was revealed that Kathleen Kennedy would be retiring. She wasn't fired, there wasn't any bad blood, there weren't any disputes with Disney that we know of, it was exactly as we expected, on her own terms. However, after that report came out, a few other sources began investigating, and it turns out the situation is not clear-cut. And to be honest, while there is a very strong chance Kathleen Kennedy will retire in the near future, I don't think anyone knows for certain. There have been rumblings, there have been signs, but now a couple of other reputable outlets have chimed in and given us a better idea of what's going on. One of them is insider Jeff Snyder, and if you've been following Star Wars news for the last few years or so, then you know his track record is much better than that of Puck. In his most recent newsletter from a couple of days ago, he gave us some very valuable insight. He claims that while Kathleen Kennedy might step down at some point, she's not going very far, and she will still produce the Sean Levy movie and the Simon Kinberg sequel to the sequel trilogy. So for those saying, Kathleen Kennedy gone is going to remedy all of the problems at Lucasfilm, that's not true. Not only is she still going to stay pretty close, but most of the names that have come up in suggestions of who might replace her are all still part of her inner Lucasfilm group, and they've been on board with most of her decisions. We have to be realistic. The problems Lucasfilm has been facing are not going to magically disappear overnight. Don't get me wrong, I do think Lucasfilm needs change. I think Kathleen Kennedy stepping down would be a good thing. She has been in charge of overseeing so many terrible decisions for the Star Wars brand, but I think it's more complicated than just one person stepping away. There would need to be a revamping of the way the brand is being handled. The transition of power from Kathleen Kennedy to her successor is definitely a good first step, but I personally think it's going to take a little bit more than that, as good as a change would be. So, according to Jeff Snyder, he thinks Dave Filoni could be the replacement, but he's not going to do it alone. The current rumour is that it's going to be a duo, and Dave Filoni's name has come up time and again. I don't think that's the best decision, he's more of a creative. I don't think he wants that responsibility, but that being said, he has worked his way up to being Executive Vice President and Chief Creative Officer. So the question becomes, who is he going to co-lead with? The most obvious pairing would be alongside Jon Favreau. I would say someone like Doug Chiang is very qualified, but Jeff Snyder thinks it's going to be Carrie Beck, who is also Executive Vice President and Chief of Live Action Development and Production. And she's been a prominent voice at Lucasfilm for quite some time, executive producing Ahsoka, The Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi, The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Skeleton Crew. In terms of the name I suggested the other day, Lin-Wyn Brennan, despite holding the second top position at Lucasfilm, according to Jeff Snyder, she is not in the running. I don't think she wants the job. According to the report, she's just going to continue her daily operations with ILM and Skywalker Sound. So now let's get into some juicy information. Apparently Kathy was gonna step down in 2024. She wants to focus on an AI production company, but when she couldn't get funding a year ago, she decided to re-up her contract. It's also been revealed that if Kathy steps down, it's going to have a knock-on effect with massive layoffs at ILM. Snyder says up until now she's prevented that from happening, so Kathy is far from retirement, but in terms of her presidency at Lucasfilm, that could come to an end pretty soon. But nothing is set in stone. This idea that she just walked out the other day, or she's gonna step down in the coming months, apparently isn't true, despite that being the implication of the original report. But her tenure is coming to an end. Even if the report wasn't entirely true, I just can't imagine her staying on too much longer. And even if she steps away from this position, as Snyder says, she is still going to be involved as a producer on the upcoming movies, even if her official title is no longer president. Now, I'm going to take time debunking one of the biggest rumours I've seen, but just before that, an ongoing narrative that's been prevalent for quite a few years now, even before I even started making YouTube videos, is that there is an ongoing war, a battle, going on with the creatives at Lucasfilm, that Kathleen Kennedy's so-called personal vision, personal agenda, is different to that of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. Now, I do think they would be an improvement, but there's this misconception, a false narrative that there's a Lucasfilm civil war, that they differ so much that every time Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni goes to make a project, there's some over-dramatic WWE-style slam from Kathleen Kennedy, that despite executive producing all of them, she tries to stop them from making those shows. It makes no sense. It's absolute BS. And unfortunately, a lot of that narrative has played into some of the rumor mill, and it's distorted the perception of the way this story has unfolded. There is no internal battle at Lucasfilm. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have sung Kathleen Kennedy's praises.
And Kathy, first and foremost, is a great producer. Figure out ways to make things happen that are creatively exciting to the storytellers.
If this was a few years ago, especially following The Mandalorian's first 2 seasons, you'd kind of be forgiven for thinking that might be true, because given the disparity between the sequel trilogy and what we had in the first 2 seasons of Mando before the Book of Boba Fett came out, it did seem for a minute that there were 2 conflicting visions between the creatives. But as time has gone on, as Dave Filoni has persistently defended and sung Kathleen Kennedy's praises, as he endorsed and contributed to a lot of projects fans didn't like, such as The Acolyte, it's obvious to me whoever gets put in charge out of those currently at the company, their creative visions for what Star Wars is are aligned with Kathleen Kennedy. And this idea that maybe they're trapped, maybe they can't do what they want under her leadership. With Dave Filoni's promotion to CCO, and given what he's done with it so far, I personally can't see too many things changing. Kathleen Kennedy's management and leadership are definitely at the top of the pile of problems, but there are other parts of Lucasfilm that need revamping as well. The story group, some of the other creative voices, and so I think it needs someone from the outside, an outside hire to really change things up. The problem is, Disney doesn't want to do this. According to Jeff Snyder, Disney is not going to go for an outside hire, and they don't want another, quote, legacy producer like Kevin Feige. And that is the specific rumor I want to debunk. I've seen it mentioned in a couple of places, given Kevin's love of the Star Wars universe, given the fact he was tied to an upcoming movie which never happened, and he's been in talks for a collaboration with Lucasfilm for a long time, is he going to be the one to step in? Is he going to co-lead Lucasfilm alongside Dave Filoni? Well, according to this, that is not going to happen. And given his plans for where Marvel is heading, I just don't personally think the circumstances are right for Kevin Feige to step away from Marvel Studios at the moment. Okay, so now another reliable source who has also shed light on the situation is Bespin Bulletin, and I agree with them. They say an official announcement of Kathleen Kennedy's retirement will not be made public until actual decisions are finalized. I think at Star Wars Celebration, that's a pretty good guess. This coming April, on stage in Japan, they might announce a successor. But until the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, I don't think we're going to hear official word. So it's all hearsay. But the rumors and the rumblings are a sign that this is probably going to come sooner rather than later. The question is when. But what do you guys think? Share your thoughts on all of today's news in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, as always, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. Check me out on socials. The link to my Patreon is down below. And I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.